They would probably say that at this point at the cocktail party that Caitlyn Jenner is implementing a play from the playbook of the original Bachelor series. She says
Oh
that
yeah.
she's had a tough day, and she notes that she's being picked on by someone in the house. So, if your game of roses, you would refer to this as an SWPOM, which means someone's picking on me. And then when she leaves quickly after sharing this with Gary unexpectedly, they'd call that a IJS MP exit. Very new technique called I just shit my pants. Mm-hmm.
I love how hilarious those two are. And nobody, and I mean nobody, acronyms the way they do. Maybe the government, the United States government. But outside of that, I really can't think of anybody. Hi, hello, and welcome to another brand spanking new episode of What is this? This is bad TV. This is bad television.
This is bad TV, Matt.
Yeah, sorry. I'm all over the place. I'm Dylan, saddled up next to... Well, I'm not even saddled up to you. I mean, I'm
Dylan.
all the way across the country.
Papaya guy. Papaya guy.
Papaya.guy, yeah.
Manhattan.
Yeah.
Broadway. Cats.
Yeah. You know what?
Is there a horrible property that Broadway won't make a musical about?
What do you mean? Are you talking about...
Broadway, they'll make a musical about anything. They made a musical about Carrie.
Well, I'm seeing a musical tonight called Shucked, and that's about corn. So really, it's just about the limits of the human imagination, be they high or low. But Shucked is supposed to be amazing. You know, it's about corn.
Sounds great.
Yeah. I cannot wait to get back to tell everyone all about this New York trip. There's going to be a lot of stuff to break down. Went to the Met today. It is a scary day in New York. There's lots of it's quite a trip. So we're going to break that down at patreon.com/another podcast network. We are also going to be I guess this isn't an announcement, so I should have a little bit more pomp and a little bit more, I can't talk, more circumstance. I got to say, champagne problems, but I'm looking at the Statue of Liberty right now. My sister's apartment is on Battery Park. I am not sure how she affords it. But
I think we know.
What are you saying? She's a prostitute? Is that what you're saying?
No. Don't you guys rib each other constantly about yeah.
But the sunlight is blaring right now, so it's distorting my frequencies. But here is the pomp and circumstance, and here is the announcement. Okay, Pat and I are going to be covering Winter House on this feed here. It is going to have a tie-in of all of the most relevant people on planet Earth. We are going to have Riley. We are going to have a Chief Stew from some season.
Katie Flood.
Katie Flood. We're going to have...
And then the real good-looking guy with long hair from last season of Below Deck.
Alex. Right. So that should be fun. But speaking of Winter House, we went to the Comedy Cellar last night. Everybody's killing, right? And the guy that gets up last is none other than Des Bishop, Hannah's boyfriend, the estranged Hannah. Did he bomb? You'll have to go to patreon.com. I'll break down the entire set. I mean, when I saw this guy, I was like, oh my fucking God, this is not happening right now. But anyways, stay tuned for that. We have something to talk about today that is more important than any of these plugs. But do you have any more plugs, or can we get into the elderly?
Well, I just want to explain the audio. Obviously, Dylan has mentioned that he is in New York City. I am in Los Angeles. We were doing this over Zoom. That's how we make it happen, so that you guys can hear it in a prompt manner. I don't want to hear you complain about the audio. So shut up in advance, please. Okay. We're making it happen.
Thank you so much for saying that. You can hear me, right? Because I can't hear myself.
I can hear you clear as a bell.
Okay.
And once again, I don't want to hear it from any of you little baddies. Okay.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, the lengths that we go, us coastal elites, to get this podcast down. Okay, so what are we here to do? We're here to talk about the greatest television show that is airing currently. That is The Golden Bachelor. Um, Pat, if I could get into my canes,
Please do, sir.
the show is it's as close to perfect as you can get. Gary and the gang are doing it every week. I cried, I laughed, I wrote down jokes about Caitlyn Jenner running people over on PCH. There is so much fun to be had, and tonight it gets even better because there is an unsheathing. Okay, the producers have put these women on bunk beds, which is very, very dangerous, but they're turning it up a notch here. They're starting to toy with their mental health, and that is inhumane. But it is marvelous television, and it's exactly what we needed. Okay, we need the niceties, we need the heartwarming stuff. Everyone's husbands and wives are dead. I mean, they're all dead, and it's lovely to see people come together
Yeah.
about that stuff. But it also is going to be a fascinating experiment to bring the elderly to the brink of they're going to lose their fucking minds in
Mm.
3, 4 weeks here. And again, it is not appropriate, responsible, a good reflection of where we're at in our country. I am here for it. 99 pots.
Well said, Dylan. And true to your word, eminency, eminency of
I need
death
I need
is
more context clues. I think we're done with the context clues. I'm not sure what you're trying to say, but just keep
death
powering.
is imminent for a
Oh
lot of these
yeah, yeah.
people,
Oh
and it
yeah,
makes
right.
them do crazy things, and I love it. All right, I agree with everything you just said. I love this season. As viewers, we love authenticity, Dylan, and I mentioned this before in a previous recap. When you're old, um, you got nothing to lose, so you just lay it out there. You're going to be dead soon, right?
Yeah,
Um, And that's one thing that's been missing from this show for the better part of a decade, except for one person, and that is Caitlin Bristow, who was on the show tonight. She's a very successful Bachelor person.
yeah,
Dare I say the most successful one. Why? In my opinion, because people think she's real. And I think she's authentic. So that's why I love this show. I think these people are just being themselves,
yeah,
and we are just taking it all in. Mickey Mouse is an idiot if he doesn't have three more versions of this show in production.
yeah.
I personally would like to see people in their 50s or 60s be
Sure,
cast for the next
sure.
version of this. But I am enjoying this.
Well,
Let me share.
can I jump in really quickly for two
Sure,
things?
sure, sure.
One, you need to scoot the camera so your face is in it. Okay, there we go. Handsome boy. Two, let's do Bachelor in Paradise with these people. We know how these swingers resorts are in
Oh,
Palm
yeah.
Springs and whatnot, the nest and stuff. I mean, these people are tossing into one another left and right.
Yeah, my only issue with that, Dylan, is insurance concerns. Because you're
It's a
trying to pull
great
off a
point.
69 with a
Yeah,
fucking, I don't know,
yeah.
herniated disc. Someone
That's a
can
really
get
good
seriously
point.
hurt. You could
That's
lose
a
a
really
fucking
good
eye
point.
at that
But
age.
another thing that I wanted to say really quickly, and I know it's your canes, and I know that we need to hobble along with your canes. But one of the reasons why the show is so real is because, as we all know, there is a bell curve to life. Okay, when you're young, you are completely yourself. Okay, you'll go up to somebody as a 4-year-old, and you'll just call them fat. You don't
I
know
told Santa he smelled when I was 4.
100%. These people are Benjamin buttoning back into a infant like state. They have no the filter is porous at this point, and so they're just themselves. It's beautiful.
Yes. So we are in agreement. Dylan, this was a number of years ago, but I'm standing in line at a CVS. There's a 80-year-old guy in front of me, and in front of him is a nice mother with her 3-year-old daughter talking to the cashier. The conversation goes on for a little long. The cashier hands a balloon to the 3-year-old at some point, and then the old man yells, "Move it along!"
Yeah,
And while he was a grizzled old fuck, the 3-year-old was startled,
he was
they
right.
were talking too long.
Yeah,
They
he was
were talking too long.
100% right.
He was right, and I appreciated him doing that. And the fact that he didn't give a fuck about what society thought of him was a wonderful, authentic thing. I'm going on too long. 100 canes.
Yeah, way too long, and your face is out of frame again. But that's just something we're gonna have
Why
to
are we doing video,
battle.
or you just want to see me?
No, no, no. We're gonna do video. We're gonna do
Oh,
video.
okay. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay.
Okay. So, how many canes? 100 canes? Did you say 100
100
canes?
canes. Yeah, I love this show.
All right. Well, I don't think you're leaving enough room for the impending torture of these women. But we begin the day with another one of these Goodfellas openers. As far as I can remember, I was crying on a bench outside of a condemned mansion, kind of thing. And
Hmm.
they're doing this every week, and it sure it doesn't work at all because who cares about what happens on the show? But it's nice to get a little amuse bouche of what is to come. It's usually Gary crying. He's a sensitive
Yeah, that
guy.
was Gary crying out
Yeah.
there. Yeah, he was crying like a baby. Something happened.
So it's like I said, there's an unsheathing tonight, and the claws are out when the episode starts. We have deceit, we have treachery, we have envy, and we have this veneer of these sweet older women beginning to crack. Now, Kathy has the the evil that seeps out of her cannot be contained. So
Well, she's a demon, Dylan.
we've seen her as a Gorgon since day one. But people like Leslie, people like Teresa, they are starting to rise to the surface and they're starting to say some cocky things. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And in response, we have this ASKN group forming. I'm going to go ahead and refer to them as the AXIS, but they are calling themselves the April, Susie, Kathy, and Natalia group. Um,
I believe their little sorority, actually, the official name they titled it is Sigma Geritol Gamma,
yeah,
I
yeah,
believe.
yeah, yeah,
Now, Dylan, it's worth pointing out. I think I forgot who did this. I think it was Leslie. She pointed out it's week 3. There's 12 ladies left, and all the girls are feeling Gary. So it's
mm-hmm.
crunch time. Now, Leslie tells us the vibe is camaraderie, but I see quite the opposite, Dylan. At the same time, there's a few of these cast members. If they see a competitor get a little wobbly, they would push them into a wall,
Yeah.
causing them to break a hip, which at this age could more than likely lead to death. So
I
she's
mean,
pretty much
yeah,
proposing murder.
right, right, right. It's a 60% shot at that age because the bones are brittle. When things shard off in there, it's
Mhm.
tough to, we have to go back to kind of I know we have like more advanced tools and stuff, but they are kind of like Revolutionary War kind of surgeries where we're tying stuff off, we're digging in. I know people are down, but it's dangerous. So quarterback heads in, and uh, really the only sore spot on the show right now is quarterback. I don't know why, with all of this real dignified heart and humor, we have to have this 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 bloated denture of a human being walk in here every single week and speak in that cadence, which is like, if we're going to do game show cadence, can we get somebody else in here? I know Regis is dead, but somebody like Regis would be perfect. Somebody to match
Oh,
the age.
hey, how are you doing? Yeah, I would have loved Regis. Oh man, yeah, Jesse Palmer, you are no Regis Philbin.
Oh
Um,
my God, no.
hey, Dill, it is worth mentioning before Palmer shows up, pretty drunk on Trulies. Caitlyn Jenner. I think, are we going to call Kathy Caitlyn Jenner? By the way, Kathy has said that she is Caitlyn Jenner on an Instagram post.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a touchy thing because people are going to go, you're refusing to her as a transgender person, and I would say to you, what is wrong with referring to somebody as a transgender? They're
Th-
people too, So
you throw it right back at him,
so
Dill.
get out of here. We're not going to call her Bruce. We're not going to
Oh,
dead name the person that Kathy reminds us of. But do remember that that person did slaughter an old woman on PCH.
that's right, she did. And
Yeah.
Kathy could do that too because she's quite the villain. She's
Uh-huh.
realizing that Teresa must be neutralized at all costs because of that that very romantic date that Gary had with Teresa, where he nearly drove them both into an underpass and then danced to "Don't Stop Believing" with a flash mob.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's a problem, Dylan.
Yep,
She's a
she's
problem.
she's the spearhead of the axis of evil. But quarterback says something in this drippy fake bullshit cadence, like I mentioned, and it is revealed that we are going to be doing the talent show. Now, this is a trope of the
Ah.
show, and I think the only way that could make it even somewhat palatable is to have a bunch of 70-year-old women do it, and that's exactly what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback says, I've talked to Gary and he wants to see all of you. And this is when Well, one, Gary has no idea what's going on. I mean, just in general, but specifically with this, he has no idea what's going on. Okay, he
No, no,
doesn't.
no.
He doesn't want this talent show. He
Yeah.
didn't. You know.
Later on, Mickey Mouse wanted us to believe that Gary called a fashion designer to show up. So, yeah, I don't think that's things that
Yeah.
didn't never happened. That
Right.
um,
Gary wants to have peanut butter sandwiches and he wants to sit down with these women and talk. That's it.
mm,
Okay.
Now,
Leslie says that's my man, and Teresa says that's my man. And this is what I like to see. Okay. This is
mhm.
what I like to see. This is more WWE from the ladies.
Well, also Leslie, I like how she's got this one in the bag because Dylan,
Yeah.
as she's reminded us many times
Yeah.
now, uh, Prince wrote a song about it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear this? Okay.
Not really, but I see what you're trying to do. Listen, I like when you do Prince songs. So yeah.
Hey, Del, you know what this song sounds like? You
Yeah.
ever
Well,
buy
I can't
a
really
cute?
hear it, but
Oh, you
whatever
couldn't
song.
hear it?
Not
Here, I'll play.
really. No, not really.
Oh, you can't hear it? Let's play it real loud. You can't hear it?
Are you playing it?
Yeah, I'm playing it, man. Come on now.
No.
This song sounds like if you ever bought a cheap keyboard from the 99-cent store, there's a button
Hmm.
on it called demo. You press it.
Right.
That's what that song sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's how the Gorillas made Clint Eastwood.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Oh my gosh. Ruby's Zoom, Papaya Dog Girl does not have Zoom Pro. So in 10 minutes, oh my gosh, am I going to have to purchase Papaya Dog Girl Zoom Pro here? You just go ahead and keep talking. I got to make sure that we're doing okay here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
you go ahead.
All right.
And to
So,
the audience, we're sorry. This is coast to coast stuff. Just be fluid with us, okay?
all right. Well, why don't I play a little bit more of that song, and then we'll see if he sings it all in it.
Okay, but Pat, I'm telling you, I know you don't believe me, but
But I'm talking. How can you not hear it? You can't hear it, really?
no, no, you cannot hear it. And
Oh,
this is the
that's
third
silly.
time I've told you that
I didn't
this.
believe you. You lie to
No,
me all the time.
that's very clear that you do not believe me.
All right. Well, let me get into the talent show then while you're
Yes,
doing that. All right. All right. So, Joan, she's the school administrator. She tells us she's really concerned because she doesn't have any talents.
yeah,
Okay. Anyway, Gary thinks this is all going to work out just fine. And then we get to the talent show at that beautiful venue in Thousand Oaks, California, the Canyon Club, which is renowned for careers going to die. I just looked at who's playing there this weekend. I heard Real Big Fish and Hoobastank are co-headlining there. So go
right,
get your tickets at canyonclub.com. Anyway, that's where this talent show is taking place.
yeah.
And Caitlin Bristow, she arrives to be a judge, and she makes an observation that some of the ladies they look really nervous, and that's on the count of they can make facial expressions. Caitlin,
Okay, okay,
okay,
okay.
I kid. Caitlin looks beautiful here. She's got a new Botox filler person. The last one made you look like the Joker. You look beautiful here, though. Mm-hmm.
Oh, she looks great. And I was confused about the size of this crowd because once again they're subjecting these women to you know what is really not okay to do. Um,
Hmm.
they are sorry, I'm looking at this Zoom. There are people getting shot outside. There's sirens going on. This city is just too goddamn loud.
Hmm.
Um, okay,
Did you see
hang on.
Kathy wearing that funny little hat?
Hang on a second. So I was confused about the size of this audience. I didn't know if they were
Hmm.
doing a Bachelor thing where, or you know what it's like? Do you remember that awful movie with Rami Malek where he played the great Freddie Mercury,
Yeah.
where the teeth were too pronounced? And
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm particularly upset about that movie because one of my answers to the Dead or Alive dinner question, you know, the icebreaker get to know you thing. Who would you
Mm-hmm.
want to sit? It would be one of them would be Freddie Mercury. So this for me personally. So
You want to know mine? You want to know mine?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want to sit next to the little person that they used to put platters on top of their heads at Queen parties and have drinks and ask him how he felt.
Yeah. Well, I would ask Freddie about that. See, with that guy, you would just get a bunch of bummer stories about being subjected to the whims of the depraved. But I'd rather talk to the depraved artist. But in that movie, there are these shots of the Live Aid concert, the famous one.
Of
And
course.
you see the same person like 7 times, and you're like, I don't know. I think the crowd was 30 people and they just CGI'd everybody in. Like
That's how they do it,
if
man.
you have this budget, let's get 200 people, maybe 100. But I didn't know if that was going on with this talent show. It seemed like there were 12 people there and it seemed like there were 700 people there. Regardless, there were too many people there. I think this is way again,
Can I tell
the
you an old trick of production for reality TV when they're on a budget?
yeah.
They move them around. Don't ever underestimate how cheap they are. They'll have them bring three different outfits that day too. They're like, oh, you were wearing a Gilligan's hat in the last shot. Here's an LA Dodgers hat.
Well, I
And
think this
then,
is too much stress to be putting on these women. Again, they're putting them up in bunk beds. They're putting them in front of crowds. It's very, very dangerous what they're doing. But
mm,
a lot, I gotta say, they knock it out of the fucking park.
should we
Um,
go through some greatest hits here?
yeah, hit me with the greatest hits.
All right, Sandra, who I think has the potential to be the next Bachelorette. 75. She does a whole TED talk about finance and tits. I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Chris Jenner does a scene from Karate Kid 3.
Yeah, Chris Jenner is the most 400 cans of tomato sauce in the summer, New Jersey. It's just never going to work. But Sandra, I was very concerned because she's my favorite, and she was doing. I thought she was delivering like an IQ test question, one of those if the
Mm-hmm.
train leaves at 4 kind of thing, but
Mm-hmm.
with it turned out to be about tits. So she actually did a great job. Ellen teaches sex ed. Ellen's great as well. She says that she has the greatest job in the world, which is educating middle schoolers about private parts. And my God, is that hyperbolic? I mean, I, I I could think of at least 7 jobs right now that are better than that job. But listen, if that's your passion, that's your passion. Faith sings.
She makes our
Um,
ears bleed. You know how I feel about someone whipping out a guitar.
I know exactly how you feel about that. At some point, Gary stands up and says, "That's what I'm talking about," and we need that from Gary every once in a while. The guy is just so sweet. You cannot fake this guy. This is the kind of guy that knows the cameras are on him, but he's never been on the 101, and he's scared. And that is just who that is who Gary is. Um, I think Caitlyn Jenner does push-ups, which
Yep.
is that's not a talent. It's impressive to be able to do that at your age. I think you busted out 3, but that was probably the most underwhelming performance of the night. Leslie rounds the entire competition off, and because Prince sang that song about her, but actually didn't sing a song about her, it was just there was one night where she was kind of roped into maybe there were beasts involved, but there were definitely numerous women. And after, when she was crying in the corner, the way that he kind of got her over it was he said that he was going to write a song about her, and that stuck.
Huh.
And it's the things. It's like believing in heaven and hell. Whatever truth gives you the motivation to get through life, believe in it.
Yes.
But know this: Prince did not write that song about you. So
We get
the
to Joan,
the
who's very
standout
nervous. Yeah.
was Joan.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she relies on that poem, uh, and it works like a goddamn charm.
It
Um,
works like a goddamn charm. Not only did she not have to rely on the sexual whirlwind power of Leslie, when she delivers this poem, Gary says, I felt as if she was talking to me and no one else. And that is special. That's the kind of peanut butter sandwich that Gary wants because It's easy to chew, it's nutritious, and it's heartwarming. And
Yes, yes, yes. He's not
let
used to someone throwing her her lady parts in his face. Okay,
no, no,
that
no,
was
no.
at a bachelor party 22 years ago, and he only stayed for 3 minutes just to
Yeah.
acknowledge that he was there. But
He
that
said
it's too overwhelming for him.
he said that he was uncomfortable and that he would see them for the daytime activities the next day.
That's right.
Right. So Leslie, upon not winning the competition that she thought she was a shoe-in for, says, at the end of the day, no one ever picks me. And I thought that that was a little melodramatic, and I should remind her that Prince did. And again, it was you were chosen with a group of other women and men and dogs and elephants, but you were chosen by him.
And
So,
he wrote a song called "Sexy Dancer" that was only released in the United Kingdom. So
mhm.
she's
So
got that going for her.
we get to the Gary and Joan date. It turns out that Joan also lost her husband. Again, everyone's husbands are dead, and that's just an occupational hazard when you get to this age.
Now, I have a few more questions for Gary. And of course, we don't get Joan to ask any questions. So she did a little dating after her husband it was dead. And she thought she was moving a little too fast. And then we have Gary, who never acknowledges. Now, his wife's been gone for 6 years. Has he ever acknowledged? Did he do a little dating between now and Mickey Mouse choosing him as the Bachelor? Because I'd be curious about that.
I would be too, Patrick. I would
Mm-hmm.
be too. But
Oh,
you can't have too much heat on the Bachelor. Okay,
that's
he's
right. You got to
infallible.
protect him. Got to protect him.
So listen, we find out about Joan that she left her daughter at home um, after a difficult cesarean section, and there is still that problem on the home front.
Yes, yes, yes. But it's time for her, Dylan, to be selfish for the first time in her life, at least for now.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna need to get to more selfishness the next day. She gets the rose, but when we wake the next morning, we get to a sequence that legitimately made me tear up. She wakes up the next day with some disheartening news from the home front, and she walks out to greet the rest of the ladies. Now, unfortunately, Chris Jenner is the one that is kind of the leader of this, you
Her and
know,
those very white teeth.
conciliatory. Is that the vibe of the women?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
it's that, but it's also like, come on, you just had a connection with that. I mean, you won the talent show.
No,
Who cares that your daughter's all sliced up back home? You can't go home to her. You just won the talent show. And it's like, what women, please leave Joan alone. She has to go home.
yeah. Well, Dylan, I wish I could be as emotional with you about this scene, but I was just zero focused on those goddamn white teeth of Chris Jenner's.
Mm-hmm.
I was obsessing on. I want to talk to the dentist who put teeth in new teeth like that color in old people.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about both men and women. I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about what do you call those things?
Veneers.
Veneers. It's like when you have a shitty apartment and your landlord spends $19 to paint the window frames to spruce things up, but it's still a busted out apartment building. That's what those teeth represent.
Yeah, it is still vulnerable to really any movement of the earth. And in a major way. I mean, we're talking about a 2.4, we're talking about a 2.6, and the entire thing could come crumbling down to the floor. But there is new faux granite countertops. So those are those teeth. And listen, I don't know how you roped me into talking about Chris Jenner's teeth for as long as we did, but we're here. So Gary woke up the next morning. He's feeling like $1 million. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this guy is putting this guy's putting sliced bananas on this peanut butter sandwich this morning. I mean, he's really, really
Oh
jamming.
yes.
But then he goes over to the house and Joan meets him. He says, I'm surprised to see you. And there's what we can see once again. It's
Can you hear
it's
my daughter screaming in the background? I'm sorry. I don't want.
no, I can't hear her.
Okay. Sorry. Can you get that line? She's right out the door. 1 second. Hey, Lupita. Ellie, I'll be out in a little bit.
This is
Can you get that
where
line again?
this is where we can see a little bit of it's kind of like Gators bitches have to wear Jimmy's kind of thing. Like he's like, I just saw you already. You're not supposed to be speaking to me. Why are you speaking to me right now? But then they sit down, and I genuinely listen, Pat. I know that you don't have a heart, but I did cry.
Oh,
Not I There was nothing running, but I teared up when they sit down and he is crestfallen that she has to leave. And
well,
he,
because he tells her, that poem wasn't really that good. I just needed to get away from Kathy
yeah,
because she wants to drink my blood.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So I'm really upset you're leaving.
yeah. Kathy keeps scratching him, and they're not shallow scratches. They're clearly intended to draw something.
Mm-hmm.
But he tells her that sometimes the hardest decision, no, he says sometimes the right decision is the hardest one, and he
Mm-hmm.
lets her go. And this is what I love about this show. There's no pretense to Gary and so many of these people. Kathy is a deceitful, villainous creature, but so many of these people cry real tears and they're feeling very, very real things. But
Mm-hmm.
we bid Joan adieu. I think it's sad. It was far too soon.
And there are no rules. This is Golden Bachelor. There are no rules. She could be back. Okay.
I hope
So
so.
once she
I
gets those things settled back and wherever she's from, I could see her back here.
I believe in them. But let's get to the designer that Gary had to have. They really wanted him for this season. He said, I'll do it on one condition. You have to get Michael Costello in the third episode. And they said, that's going to be tough, but we'll do it. Now, Edith loves Michael Costello, really
Big fan.
the only person that knew who he was. And if Gary had known that his favorite designer was also somebody that Edith loved, he would not have sent her home at the end of this episode. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Faith is still doing her first impression bullshit. You know, it's this thing where she's starting to get a little Grady. Her, Teresa, Leslie are really, I mean, Kathy, listen, we've talked about it before. She's a Gorgon, but these three are going under the radar as some real standout shitbags so far. And I don't mean to
Mm-hmm.
speak of old women like that, but I have to be as real as they are. And I feel as though they're being shitbags.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, Ellen is the one that is selected
She gets the
to
date. It's going
to
to be a
pick the
hoot.
dress. Yeah, it's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
hoot. She is such a fun lady. I think that she's way too parcheesi for Gary, but I really do love her. I think she's going to probably, I think we're looking at a final four from Ellen. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. The pickleball co-captain. Yeah, I think she might be a good fit for him.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So she selects her dress. She heads out to meet Gary and the gals. And before Gary even said it, we knew he was going to say it. He says she looks great, but the smile is the thing that really makes the dress. I mean, this is a Hallmark man. This is just a Hallmark kind of man. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Gary says that when he's around Ellen, he feels like he can be himself. And when they sit down, Gary is himself, and he does something that can only be described as transparency because of a sense of security. And I guess it's not just Ellen, it's the age too, right?
Is this when he makes the admission he doesn't even remember his wedding day?
So he says two things. One, he does no recollection of his wedding day, and also he talks about how poor he was. Now, these are no-nos when you're younger and you're trying to date. You don't talk about how you were destitute, and you don't talk about how very meaningful moments mean almost nothing to you. And I'm not saying that it doesn't mean anything to him, but you know, I mean, listen, I remember my wedding day.
Oh well, I can relate to Gary. I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, Dylan.
Well, that's because of all the aspartame. Chewing away at the lining. Um, but listen, um, they go on to talk about how beautiful the simplicity of a struggling young relationship is, and I kid, these two just get it, and there's nothing wrong with looking back on days where you were financially unstable, but doing it with somebody that you loved. Let's say
Mhm.
you're Ellen, you meet somebody at a camp in the Catskills, because that's the only way she could have met her husband is at a camp in the Catskills. That's it for Ellen.
They made a
But
movie about it called Dirty Dancing.
yeah, 100%. And I've never seen that movie. It's one of my blind spots, but I know he picks her up in the end.
Hmm.
Um, she gets the earrings and they go up in a hot air balloon. He says, "Have you ever kissed somebody at 100 feet?" And fireworks ensue. Just
Oh yeah.
fireworks.
Hey, Dill, just some side notes on hot air balloons. That's on my no-fly zone. That
Yeah.
is on a list of things that I would never do. And would you like to know why?
Yes.
I'll tell you. It's because they have the same technology standing in those baskets as they have for Easter baskets. No
Yeah.
fucking way.
You're saying it's a little too Da Vinci drawing for you?
Those baskets are meant for Kit Kats, not for human beings at 3,000 feet.
Yeah, I think they're weaved with a little bit more strength, but it is a pretty rudimentary technology that listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I don't like heights.
Me neither.
And I also don't like loud noises and hot things. So that thing is just the flame is just, it seems so loud and so hot. It's not for me either. So we move on to Teresa's insecurities.
Mm.
Teresa is going around, she's talking to all the women about, it's this two birds, one stone kind of thing where she gets to vent how she doesn't feel at ease in this competition. She also gets to tell the other bitches that you should feel way more insecure than I am because I actually have a connection with him. To quote the great Caitlyn Jenner later on in the episode, she says, "I don't know if this woman is as dumb as rocks or a deceitful bitch." And I think it might be the latter. I'm falling out of love with Teresa.
Jesus, Caitlin, just drag her down in that tunnel system of caves. Because, yeah.
What are you
I,
talking about?
oh, Caitlin, she's a demon. She's from the movie Descent. She
Oh,
drinks people's bloods.
oh, that's right. That's right.
Blood. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So, Teresa, yeah, she, a little bit of humble bragging here about how she, quote unquote, has it in the bag. And that would get under my skin as well, Dylan. So I'm going to relate to Caitlyn Jenner slash
Totally.
demon from the film Descent.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to the demon from the film Descent. And she is Teflon Dawn, but there are cracks starting to form. The demon from the Descent, sure, you know, crudely crawled on all fours and killed innocent spelunkers with extreme prejudice, but I'm sure that you could still hurt its feelings, if you said something mean enough. You know what I
It's
mean?
good. It's a good point.
The demon from the Descent is a person too. And there are cracks starting to form, similar to the cracks on the hood of Caitlyn's car that she rammed into an old woman on PCH. I mean, it blows me away that just what I mean. She just killed somebody, but nobody ever talks about it. And she is brave. I'm not saying that she's not brave. I'm just also saying she's a murderer.
Dylan,
Okay,
did you know if you look up that car accident, not only did the person die that Caitlyn hit, someone rear-ended Caitlyn that day. They also fucking died.
right.
My God.
Yep. But
And none of them
listen,
had driver's licenses either.
we're not saying that she's not brave. Before the rose ceremony, we have cockies, and this is where the whole thing kicks off. April, the A of the axis of evil, says everybody who's been on dates with Gary need to keep their fucking mouths shut. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa,
Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa,
whoa.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
We get a little Joe Pesci in here, huh? In the
Oh,
form of
yes.
April.
Now, Dylan, our peers, the Game of Roses, I pointed out I don't know how they discuss this show the way they typically do
Mm-hmm.
with their format over there. They would probably say that at this point at the cocktail party that Caitlyn Jenner is implementing a play from the playbook of the original Bachelor series. She says
Oh,
that
yeah.
she's had a tough day, and she notes that she's being picked on by someone in the house. So if your Game of Roses, you would refer to this as an SWPOM, which means someone's picking on me. And then when she leaves quickly after sharing this with Gary unexpectedly, they'd call that a IJS MP exit. Very new technique called I just shit my pants. Mm-hmm.
I love how hilarious those two are. And nobody, and I mean nobody, acronyms the way they do. Maybe the government, the United States government, but outside of that, I really can't think of anybody. Okay, so
Yeah, but go
Kat,
check them out. They're great.
they're great, and get the book and get it from a local bookstore. If they don't have it, tell them to order it and buy it from the local bookstore. Okay, Bezos has enough money, and also Prime means nothing. It's not 2 days anymore. Okay,
Mm.
so Faith sits down. They talk about their spontaneity, or Faith sits down with Gary. I kind of want to move to Caitlin, but I really quickly want to talk about this spunky spontaneity. Again, this is the kind of thing that can kill you at that age. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
they need to get a little bit more structure in their life. Okay, there's no more Kerouacian on the road kind of bullshit. Okay, you need to compartmentalize your life, or you're going to die. We get to Caitlyn Jenner, who sits down with Gary and gets the TDR, and
What's that?
that's
Oh,
what the Game of Roses is called, the Tough Day Rose. That's when you say that you have a tough day rose, and then you get it's a sympathy rose, but it's the TDR.
they just fall out. And by the way, are there any rules for roses? They just fall out of the ceiling now. I mean,
Uh
how many
huh.
years? Anyway, you were saying.
They fall out of the ceiling like those sprinklers in the beginning of Blade. Um, okay, so and that's a kind of bath that Kathy would welcome, you know.
Of course.
Okay, so Gary, we're starting to see the producers interfere with this process, and we're usually not a fan of that, but I'm okay with that because we need a little bit of mental fragility welcoming itself into the fold. Gary says, in a very obvious, let's break, Gary, we need you to ask this question kind of way.
Okay.
He says, is there someone I need to look out for? Peanut butter sandwich would not ask that question. He just wouldn't.
No, no, no. They definitely forced him to walk around like a guidance counselor from 1955
Yeah.
to tell Rizzo to cool it. Um, I'd like to point out because you mentioned this with producer intervention. I want to remind the producers some of these women built armory to fight the Nazis. Like, have a
Yeah.
little bit more respect,
Right.
please. Okay, this is very childish on their part.
Yeah. And it's
Are we
true.
calling Gary peanut butter?
Peanut butter sandwich. Listen, we,
He's just that comfortable. He's just that smooth.
he's smooth. He's white. He's chewy. He would never hurt a fly. He is a peanut butter sandwich, but we don't have to call him that. We can also call him Gary. But listen, well, it's a fluid situation.
Sure, sure. We'll work on it.
She gets the TDR, and it's because when someone puts someone else's happiness ahead of their own, that means that they are a heroine of sorts. Now, what Carrie doesn't recognize is that Kathy is not a heroine. She is in fact a bloodlusting demon, but she has tricked him and she has garnered herself the TDR. Now she heads back in, the women applause, and that is when Kathy and Teresa sit down for a little chat. Now, Kathy has a little I forgot his name, Uche. If you're watching Love is Blind,
Mm.
Kathy does not want Teresa to interrupt the monologue that she is delivering. Now, I'm not saying that Teresa is not being duplicitous on this show, but Kathy tells her not to cry numerous times so that she can keep telling her what a bitch she is because she's got momentum. She
She's
doesn't
the
want this
old
to get
man at that
broken up.
CVS store. She's the old man in line at the CVS store.
Yeah,
Shut up.
100%. 100%. So, Gare Bear, we get another little incident of producer intervention. He walks up to the bedroom. Now this is unprecedented. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the Bachelor does not go into the quarters of the want to be careful what word I'm using here. The contestants of the show,
Contestants.
yeah,
Yes.
the contestants of the show. We don't need to be controversial for controversial sake. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say chattel, but they're not chattel. They're contestants of the show. Okay. Jesus. To compare the plight of these women. I
Mm.
mean, it's not even, and you shouldn't use it for writing and coach either. It's just not a word that is applicable to those kinds of situations. And I apologize. We were almost there,
Mhm.
but I had to say it. Maybe we'll put it on the uncensored tier. Okay, so he walks up there, and Teresa says, "What are you doing in our messy bedroom?" And there's once again there's a disturbance now, and we can see this, Gators bitches don't make messes kind of thing from Gary. And he says,
Mhm.
you know, I'm not a fan of this. Okay. Gators bitches don't cause drama. Okay.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
this is where we can see that Gary, Gary is a peanut butter sandwich, but he might not have all the crusts cut off. Maybe there's a little edge to
I
him
like
yet.
this.
You know what I mean?
Everyone hates
Um,
the crust.
Everybody hates the crust. So let's get to the rose ceremony. Pat, it is. Can you see Papaya Dog Girl behind me?
Hey, papaya dog girl. Yeah, I can.
For the patrons. I don't listen. I don't know if anybody's interested. I'll post some pictures from New York. A lot of stuff from the Met, and we also have the origin story. We have Ruby in front of the Papaya Dog sign. So there's lots of
Nice.
fun. Yeah, there's going to be lots of fun pics from the trip. But Pat, we have got to get to the rose ceremony. You tell me who goes home and who stays.
I'm going to tell you who stays first. Here's our first rogue. Here we go. Faith, the girl with the annoying guitar. Sandra, don't sleep on her as an ex-bachelor. She says when she accepts the rose, she says she'll accept it as a hole in one, which I think was code for anal. So she's okay in my book.
She's a fun
Leslie,
girl. She's just a fun
oh,
lady.
100%. Leslie, sexy dancer, United Kingdom was cheering her on tonight. Nancy, clearly in the running to be the next Bachelorette. They're definitely going to do a Bachelorette version of this. Chris Jenner in those teeth. April and Teresa. And Gary, you son of a bitch, sending home Edith. You can't handle a spicy Latina, can you?
That,
You
that
milk toast
was
peanut butter sandwich.
That was so heartbreaking, but there is no room for salsa on a peanut butter sandwich. There just isn't. That would be an insane thing to put in your mouth. And Gary doesn't want that. Be it a
Mm-mm.
mild pico de gallo or something spicier. He has no room for Edith in his life. And even more sad, or saddening, we say goodbye to somebody who just was not on the show. I don't know
I
who
had
this
no
woman
clue.
is.
I rewound
And
it back for 5 minutes to see if I could figure out who she was, and I just said I'm tired. So she's just going to be called No Name.
yeah, she does not have a name. She is not a real person. And once again, she was not on this show. Now, we wrap the episode with Kathy calling Teresa a dumb bitch. And once again, the unsheathing continues. The show is getting spicy. The show is remaining heartfelt. And peanut butter sandwich is evolving. I mean, this is a fluid situation. I cannot wait for next week. And until then, iTunes ratings and reviews, 5 stars, kind words. Um, Patrick, any other outro
I think that's it.
PSAs?
I'd say just check out our coverage of Winter House. I'm sure we'll be able to get Ruby to come in and mix it up with us, and we're just gonna have fun because that show is extremely stupid,
Yeah,
and we have a lot of fun
unbelievably
recapping
stupid.
it.
Unbelievably stupid. That show it's going to be a fun show because oftentimes there's nothing to talk about. So we'll talk about various different things.
Mm-hmm.
Apocalypse Now, what happened to us during the day, traffic incidents, stuff like that. We'll get into politics. It'll be a great show. All right, that's it for me. I am going to go see Shucked.
Well, have fun.
Everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. I'm Dylan saying goodbye. Pat, say goodbye.
Later, dudes.